let's talk about a poor farm girl in Thailand. We'll call her T. Now T, when she's 19 or 20, falls in love with a young soldier, and she winds up getting pregnant, so they get married. Now she goes to a college after this, but she gets pregnant again and decides to drop out of college after a couple of years to take care of the children. But the marriage isn't going so well. Her husband starts sleeping around with another woman. And as they fight about this, her husband gets very angry and sets her up to be raped by a friend of his. Of course, the marriage winds up ending. The husband abandons her with the children and some college debt, as well as some debt from her parents on their land that she feels, as the culture says, she's responsible to pay. So she doesn't have a college education, and she can't get a nice job to pay off these debts. So what does she do? She goes into the city of Bangkok, Thailand, and she works as a prostitute in a massage shop. And so she's sending a lot of money home to her parents to take care of her children, to pay off the debt. But the parents aren't paying the debt. They waste the money with drinking and gambling. But as the culture says, it's her responsibility to send them money and make sure they are taken care of. So this is the way life carries on for 5 or 6 years. And it seems quite hopeless. Now, let's tell the story of myself. I was a young man who only really knew video games and television, and started to realize his life had no purpose and no direction. And so God started to convict me of this. And so I left those things in search of purpose and direction. And in that search, I wound up taking a couple of trips overseas. 2 trips with 2 different groups. But in between those trips, I had a 2-week stay in Bangkok, Thailand by myself while I waited to join up with the other group. And I was just there alone, and I would walk the streets, and I'd sit down in coffee shops, and I'd study and just pray and wait for that next trip. But in the meantime, I noticed that there was a lot of need there in Bangkok. And I would see prostitutes. But I felt very paralyzed by a lack of boldness, lack of ability to take action and just start up a conversation. And that really convicted me as I just would keep walking by them in those 2 weeks I was there. And as that time started to draw to an end, the what if question started bothering me. I did not want to have to leave this situation thinking, what if I had talked to one? What would have happened? And I was very troubled. So I really set my heart to seek the Lord and pray. And then it was Christmas Eve, actually, and I was going to leave Thailand the day after Christmas. And I was walking down the street. There was a massage shop across the street, and ladies trying to call me over. But I just kept walking. And one of them came over and started walking next to me. And so I said, hello. And then I asked her if she was hungry. And she said yes. I asked her if she wanted to go eat. And she said okay. And so there was a restaurant right there. And we went inside and we ordered some food. I was feeling very awkward. I wasn't sure what to say, but I said in my heart that I was going to try and talk to her about her life. So I asked her name, and she gave me her name. We'll say it was T. And asked her about family, if she had family. And she had told me that she was divorced and that she had 2 children. Her English was okay. I used a translation app to help out with a lot of things, though. And she started to get a little bit bored. She was also very flirty the whole time, but she started to get bored. And so I asked her what she was doing the next day, which was Christmas. And she said she was working. So I asked her if she would be able to leave work. She told me she could, but she'd have to pay her shop, the massage shop. I think it was around $30. And so I told her, okay, I will pay if you can come with me for the day. And she said, okay. So I went over to the massage shop with her, and I gave the manager that was there I think 1,000 baht, which is about $30. And I knew that this was maybe money I would never get back, that maybe I'd come and I'd never see her again. But this was something I had to try. So I set a time to come back and get her, I think around 8 a.m. in the morning. And I went back to my hotel. And I was a bit stressed. I was a little bit excited about opportunity, but I wasn't sure if I was crazy or not and what kind of trouble I might get into. So I really prayed, but I also set a plan for what I was going to do the next day. And so I walked over to her massage shop the next day, and she was there. And I had decided that I didn't want to spend a lot of money. I didn't want to show money. I wanted to try and do everything cheap, so that it wasn't seen as this guy's going to spend money on me. So I decided no taxis, no nice restaurants, no buying nice things. And so we just left on foot, and we found a small restaurant, and we sat down and ate some food. And I decided to show her what Christmas was, as it was Christmas Day. So I had her read over the passage in Luke that talks about what Christmas is. And then I tried to explain the idea of why we give gifts. We give gifts to others because God gave us the gift of his Son. And so then after we finished eating, I went and I bought some fruit and candy and things, and we gave it out to a lot of the beggars just as we would walk down the street. And eventually her flirty personality started to fall away. She started to become, more of just a normal person. As she saw that this was not a date, I also took her to a bookstore and found a Bible in the Thai language. And I bought that. It was a bit expensive, but for that, I figured I would spend some money. I also tried to find some churches that might be doing a Christmas service, but it seemed they were all closed. But I at least showed her where a church was and told her when she needed help, she should go to a church and she should talk to people. Now, as the evening was coming and the day was getting short, I really wanted to get her into a calm atmosphere where I could really pry into her life more and really show care and concern for her. And I did something that to this day I sometimes wonder if it was a mistake or not. But the Lord used it even in my foolishness. And I brought her to my hotel room. Now, when I did this, and she saw that even when I was in the hotel room alone with her, that I was not interested in sex. Her attitude, her personality really changed, and she became much more open. And I could see that she now had, in such a short period of time, she gained a trust for me. And she did see that I had concern for her and that I was willing to pray with her and speak comfortably to her about life's problems. And that was when she really opened up about a lot of the things in her life. And she shed some tears. And my heart was breaking for this girl. And I felt a bit helpless and not knowing what to do. She also was getting a bit attached to me, I could see, in terms of thinking there would be a relationship. Now, eventually, it was time to go. Time for her to go. And she asked me if she could see me off to the airport the next day. And so I told her yes. So we rode in the taxi together to the airport. And she came in with me, and I checked in. And then I waited with her there for maybe an hour. And she cried a lot. And I prayed with her some more. And I gave her some more scriptures. Told her to read her Bible and to talk to God. And so I shed some tears with her. And then I got on my plane and I left. And I joined up with the other group and finished my trip. And I couldn't forget those things. But I didn't talk to people about it for a long time. You see, getting involved in people's lives is dirty business. Digging your way into people's problems is heartbreaking. But that's where we have to go if we're going to do God's work. I was looking for purpose and direction, and God brought it to me. But of course, as God almost always works, it's not what we expect. It's not what we thought we would get.